Well, a video had surfaced online showing presidential hopeful TChiroma addressing the long-standing grievances of the peoples of southern Cameroons in a dramatic reversal from his earlier stance. Now, in the footage, we see that TChiroma appears to acknowledge the historical injustices surrounding the 1961 plebiscite, where southern Cameroons were denied the option of choosing full independence. His remarks highlight issues of marginalized and fraud that have fueled decades of unrest and the rise of the Ambazonian separatists, the Ambazonian liberation struggle. Let's take a listen to him stating this fact we never thought we would have heard from someone like TChiroma. Let's take a listen.
Ok, il n'y a pas de souci. C'est l'indépendance qui nous a été accordée par la France dans les conditions que nous connaissons. Je saisis cette opportunité pour rendre hommage aux pères fondateurs pour qui la dépendance était inacceptable et ont fait recours aux armes pour bouter hors de nos frontières les colons. Ils ont sacrifié de leur sang, de leur famille pour cela. Chaque fois que j'ai l'opportunité, leur rendre hommage est quelque chose de très important. Maintenant, la deuxième partie, qui avait la possibilité de choisir entre le Nigeria et le Cameroun. Les Nations Unies qui en administraient cette partie avaient donc soumis au référendum la partie qui était gouvernée par les Britanniques, le Cameroun, le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest. Mais il se trouve qu'on ne leur a jamais demandé la possibilité d'exister en tant que tel. On leur a simplement demandé de choisir, de se rattacher ou au Cameroun ou au Nigeria. La partie nord de cette partie a choisi, bon, dans des conditions pas claires, la partie du nord a choisi de rester avec le Nigeria, tandis que la partie sud a choisi donc de rester avec le Cameroun. Donc déjà à ce point, il y a un malentendu, sinon une démarche conflictuelle. Les sécessionnistes disent qu'ils ont été floués. Ils ont été floués parce qu'on ne leur a jamais demandé s'ils acceptaient de constituer un État. Pour les Britanniques, pour les Français, pour les Nations Unies, cet État ne pouvait pas être viable. C'est pour cette raison qu'on ne leur a pas demandé la possibilité de constituer leur État. Okay? Donc, le référendum a été organisé. L'immense majorité de ceux donc du Sud avaient choisi donc de rester.
Who would have thought TChiroma stating history as Ambazonians would actually expect? But then we see that Chiroma's sudden shift in tone has sparked mixed reactions across the political landscape, rightly so. Critics accuse him of opportunism, claiming his newfound sympathy is a calculated move to gain favor with pro-Ambazonian elements within the government and boost his chance in the upcoming presidential race. That being a possibility, would like to get your thoughts, Barrister Mbeseha, with these speculations of him trying to, for the first time, stating the true historicity of Ambazonia, probably as a mechanism to gain Ambazonian favor. Do you agree with that, Barrister Mbeseha? What do you think about his outing on this particular issue?
If you ask me what I think about his outing on this segment that you just produced, I will give him 150% credit for being historically accurate. What he has narrated purely in French, it reflects exactly what happened to us in 1959. And in summary, for people who did not listen to him in French, he says, we complain, and he's right, that we were never given the opportunity to be a country by ourselves. Why? According to him, and which is also correct, the United Nations, the British, and their partners told us that we could not be a country on our own. He's perfectly right. That's correct. They forced a plebiscite on us, which is correct. He says so. And the North voted to go to Nigeria. And the South, he said, the majority voted to join Cameroon. That is a fact. That's historical narration that everybody who knows history should credit him for that. He did not say that we voted to reunify. He said we voted to join them. And so personally, I give him credit for that narration. That's a historical fact. Those are historical facts as narrated by him. They are accurate by my own estimation. There are other things that would disagree with him. But on that segment alone, on what he has said, give him credit for being historically factual, for narrating exactly what it was. Maybe we'll disagree with him down the road on other things. But for this segment, he has told the history as it was. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Barrister Mbeseha. Barrister Fru, aren't you shocked to hear that from the likes of TChiroma? What do you think about this outing, this particular outing?
I would join Barrister Mbeseha to give him 150% because he has narrated the facts. He has narrated the facts as they were. And all what he said is factually correct, but the question is, on which side does he stand? And his statements as Minister of Communication of La République du Cameroon, he did say what he said, that there was no Anglophone problem. Knowing these facts, I don't think TChiroma learned this a few days ago. He had known these facts a long time ago. Because he was already an adult when Ahijo was here. So he got all these facts from what happened. And I think he's factually correct. The question is, where does he stand? What happens now? Is he coming to the negotiating table when he wins the election? Is he coming to the negotiating table? And I don't see where we can fault him on these facts alone, from what he has just said alone. We want to see what happens at the negotiating table and whether he's coming to the negotiating table. That is my take. I therefore support what Barrister Mbeseha has said. The facts are factually correct.
Yes, Barrister Fru, as you and Barrister Mbeseha have said, he stated facts very accurately, but your question is something that concerns all Ambazonians. Knowing this fact and stating this fact, where exactly does TChiroma stand? Looking at the fact that even just days prior, TChiroma had publicly dismissed calls for Southern Cameroon's independence, making his recent statement appear politically motivated rather than genuinely empathetic. The development has intensified scrutiny over the motives of candidates vying for power in a nation grappling with division. So looking at these scenarios, we cannot help but ask, what exactly is TChiroma doing? Is he standing up for the truth? Is he planning to win and come to the negotiating table, or does he plan to continue a cycle of enslaving Southern Cameroons? Well, let's go on to listen to the last part, the other excerpt of this particular discourse where TChiroma was speaking. Let's take a quick listen.
La solution, puisque ils n'ont pas déposé les armes. Ils n'ont pas déposé les armes, ça veut donc simplement dire que toutes les conditions, tout ce qu'ils en entendaient, n'a pas été mis à leur disposition. C'est donc pour cette raison qu'ils continuent, ils ont continué et continuent encore à manifester. Tout à l'heure, vous avez dit les Ambazoniens ont décidé de me soutenir et qu'ils ont accordé une trêve de 3 jours, donc d'autres disent une semaine. Oui, parce que dans mon programme, je préconise le retour au fédéralisme.
Et vous allez procéder comment? Est-ce que ça sera par référendum, justement?
Attendez. Non seulement le retour au fédéralisme, je libère tous les prisonniers politiques. Quelle que soit la faute qu'ils aient commise, je les libère d'abord pour ceux qui n'ont pas eu du sang entre les mains. Amnistie totale. Mais pour les autres, dans une deuxième phase. Parce qu'il faudrait que les Camerounais sachent exactement qui a fait quoi. Non pas parce qu'on va les condamner, mais il faudrait qu'on leur donne la possibilité de se repentir de demander, de présenter des excuses, de demander pardon à la nation. Et en ce moment-là, le chef de l'État, disposant donc de pouvoirs discrétionnaires dans ce domaine-là, leur accordera également l'amnistie. Donc, la différence que j'ai avec les autres, c'est que, je préconise donc le fédéralisme. La première année, il faut absolument qu'on y pense. La forme de l'État dépend naturellement de l'écosystème, de l'environnement, des frustrations dont les uns et les autres font l'objet. Alors, je mettrai donc en place immédiatement une expertise qui va nous suggérer la forme viable de l'État fédéral, la forme viable économiquement, humainement. Donc, on me mettra, ces experts, ce sera des juristes, ce sera des historiens, des politiciens, et puis la classe politique. C'est tout ce beau monde-là que je mettrai donc autour d'une table pour que de manière ouverte,
Barrister Mbeseha and Barrister Fru, I believe you heard everything that TChiroma went on to say in that interview. This is Ambazonian ABC TV. We would like for you to tell Ambazonians, based on what he said, what you think about, did he score 100% on accuracy in this later part? Do you agree with that, Barrister Fru?
Yes, this is what troubles me about La République du Cameroun official. Look at this man talking about federalism. Who is he to accord us the federalism? We are at war with this country, La République du Cameroun. All we want to hear from him is he coming to the negotiating table with we will have a neutral third party mediator. We are not talking to La République du Cameroun without a mediator. He should know that. He should know that. If he knows anything, he should know that. Number two, his so-called amnesty, releasing those who are in prison and those who are leaving those who have blood in their hands. Who are those who have blood in their hands during war? When you are fighting a war and the enemy catches you, you are a prisoner of war. What is he talking about blood in your hands? You see, this is the type of thing that Ambazonians should not take these people seriously. If TChiroma wants to solve this problem, as soon as he takes over, he should come to the negotiating table, like La République du Cameroun government and the Southern Cameroon government will be on the table before a neutral mediator. The elements of international negotiations will come into play. After a war between two parties, the parties sit down with a mediator and the parties present their case and they argue and they agree how to solve the problem. Until then, we are not going to talk to TChiroma just because he has been elected. He cannot sit in wherever he is and talking about preconized federalism. Federalism with who? He should come to the table and let's talk. If he has to propose to us a federal structure, let him come to the table and talk about it. Let him come to the table with his team and negotiate it. Until then, we are not going to talk to TChiroma whether he is president or not. That is the position of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonian government. One government to another, like it was in Pullman. So that is where we stand. And for TChiroma to talk about prisoners with blood in their hands during war, the so-called prisoners with blood in their hands were captured during the war on the war front, and they are in their keeping. Do you call the international law defines prisoners of war murderers with blood in their hands? He doesn't know what he's talking about. I hope that by the time he becomes president, I don't know whether he will become president, but by the time he becomes president, he should get a fine legal team that will be able to define for him what a prisoner of war is, as opposed to a murderer with blood in his hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Barrister Fru. Would you like to add to what Barrister Fru said, Barrister Mbeseha?
Sure. I think in the first segment, we dealt with TChiroma, the historian. He told us the history as he understood it, and we agreed with him. In this segment, we're talking with TChiroma, the politician. What is politics? Politics, in essence, is a game of manipulation, where people twist facts to suit their circumstances, where people in extreme cases even lie. Because sometimes we hear about political promises, most of which are never fulfilled. You make a political promise, you get the office, very few are those things fulfilled. But the fact that he knows the history, which we all agree, he now sees the problem, which I think it is there. His approach is not bound politically right now to suit us. Because he's talking to Ambassador, but he's talking to Cameroon, his constituents, the people who elect him their leader. So he has to manage the facts with the political system that he's trying to navigate. Because, again, politics is a game of twisting facts. It's a game of manipulating people. It's a game of propaganda in some instances. And so what he says there, if you take it for manipulation, it's possible. If you take it for what is within his mind, it's also possible. He says he will release everybody. How he will do it, I don't know, maybe by decree or somehow, but that's his political environment. But we're not taking part in the elections, but we are watching them carefully. Like neighbors, we've often discussed American politics right here. Last 2 years, we were discussing Nigerian politics. We're interested in what happens in our neighbors' backyard, but we're also very interested in what happens in Cameroon right now. Because come October 12, I've said this many times before, somebody will sit at the presidency there, where he was voted, selected, or just imposed. Someone will sit there. And in that person, we're going to look for a partner with whom to negotiate. The fact that he says that we can pass his decrees and set everybody free, that is possible. But if everybody left the Kodengi prison, the Boya prison, the Bamenda prison, and went home, that would not have ended the problem. The problem is not that people are in jail. The problem is what he told us in his first segment. Where is the state that voted to join you like people to come home? So you can decree their release, which is all one, because they're not even supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be in prison. Decree their release right now. Let Paul be even as we speak, release all of them. The problem will still subsist. And so, hopefully, politics is very, very local. Every politics is local. You deal with the politics with the environment where you are. So far, what you have said, if you were able to implement that, or if we were able to bring that to the conference table, we shall be able to debate him or his team. Knowing that the paymaster general that he will be is the president, he understands the facts of the problem. Therefore, hopefully, he should understand the problem. And so we're ready for whoever wins, and we hope he wins, to meet us at the discussion table for the negotiations. The conditions for negotiations are not yet set out, but they will be set out by the time they get ready. We are ready. We are not just going to walk to Yaoundé and sit like we went there and start in the 2019 Grand National Dialogue. We're not just going to walk there and sit like in 1961. We walked and sat in Fumba. We're going to move to the table with our own team, where we want us to meet, who we want to be the mediator or the negotiator, commonly agreed by the two parties. And so, for him, we take him for his word, especially from this historical narration. We take him for his word from what he thinks that he will do. But what he thinks that he will do going forward is not going to be imposed on us. History is stubborn. The facts are there. What will arrive at the conclusion is not his. It will not be based on him. We're not going to beg him to give us something. We're going to come together as two equal parties and address the problem. If he has answers for our questions, we shall have answers for his. And therefore, by the time we leave that conference table, I'm sure we shall be better equipped than we were in 1961. We would have arrived at the conclusion that we want, that will satisfy us. And so take him for that, give him credit for what he has done, take him as a politician, vying to get office, whose office he can only get with the majority of his population, his voting people, who do not, in principle, include us Amazonians. We can sympathize with him, but we're not taking part in the elections, so we cannot vote for him. We're not going to vote for him because we're not taking part officially. And so we sympathize with where he is. We understand his language. We understand his own thinking about the problem. That is what I take from his segment. Over to you.
As well said, barristers. Barrister Fru, you wanted to say something?
Yes. Listen, one of the most important aspect of negotiating after war is the condition of the prisoners arrested during that war. I cannot take it when Chiroma he's talking to his people and he's laying down policy. He says, except those with blood in their hands. I have been to that prison. I have represented a lot of our people who are in that prison. Some of them were caught in the battlefront. That is what they call people with blood in their hands. They declared the war on us. And we were fighting a war. Anytime you capture anybody during the fighting, you cannot turn around and say, he has blood in his hands, you cannot release him. That is not international law. They are all prisoners of war. That is my problem with what he just said. And let me tell you, I've lived with these francophones for almost 40 years of my professional life, and I know them. When he takes a position like that, he's expecting that his people will hold him to it. And that's why I must make it clear right now that we will not accept him releasing only some people and leaving some people behind because he claims they have blood in their hands. You rather not release and we negotiate the release of our prisoners on the table. You rather not pacify us in that manner. No. You want to do it, complete it. You want to do it, complete it and release everybody that was involved in this war that is in your keeping. Everybody that was involved in this struggle in your keeping, you release them first. But I'm not going to set that as a prisoner, as a precondition, because the United Nations and other organs, in particular the United States, says without precondition. So let's go to the table. What about ceasefire? He has not said anything about ceasefire, but if he wants to go to the table to negotiate with us while the war is on, so be it. That is exactly my point. I must hold him responsible for this, for what he has said now rather than later. That is what I was saying.
Fru, I believe, well said, Barrister Fru. I believe when that time comes, the international law will have to hold higher than some statements made by TChiroma. We believe that would be the case.